It's that time of the year when we dust off our arsenal of A Christmas Story collectibles from storage and officially begin reciting our most favorite, memorized lines from a true film classic. An annual marathon of holiday binge-watching tradition done by millions. A Christmas Story serves as a cheerful indicator that the most wonderful time of the year has arrived.
Don't anybody move!
Here's 25 fascinating backstories and interesting facts about A Christmas Story. Number 1. The early years of the movie. A Christmas Story was first introduced to the public on the big screen 1 week before Thanksgiving in 1983. At this time in the 80s, holiday-themed movies weren't as popular, so it only had a moderate amount of success initially. Even though opening right before the Thanksgiving holiday in 1983 at fewer than 900 cinemas, by Christmas that year, the film wasn't being played anymore at most movie venues, and by January of 1984, was only in roughly 125 theaters nationwide, quickly vanishing from the limelight and being replaced by popular seasonal movies from that year. With the evolution of videotape and cable television, the movie became better known in the mainstream. Eventually, the rights of the movie were sold in 1986 in a 50-movie package deal to Warner Brothers by MGM. In an effort to meet the 50-movie requirement, they threw in Christmas Story to meet the quota. In 1997, TNT began airing a 24-hour marathon of the film, and today, it still airs around the clock on TBS, beginning at 8 p.m. on Christmas Eve and playing 12 consecutive times until 8 p.m. Christmas evening, attracting over 40 million loyal viewers each year. A Christmas movie that's loved by millions of people, it earned its place as one of the most popular holiday films of all times, alongside It's a Wonderful Life and Miracle on 34th Street. Number 2. Bad movie reviews. Quite a bit of negativity surrounding the movie. Film critics unleashed their disappointment of the film in November of 1983. One review reading is not charming and doesn't evoke true childhood. It's bizarre and boring. Similar to a heavy bashing yelped on a social media feed today, another critic lashed out. Worst of all, the film is seriously marred by the kind of ludicrous, pretentious narration that never allows the luxury of figuring out what's going on because the narrator is always telling you what the characters are doing and thinking ahead of time. Hammily narrated by author Shepard himself, with such phony relish, you can almost see the drool dripping from his lower lip. Number 3. Running late for a date. The film's concept began when Bob Clark, the film's director, was on his way to pick up a date he had one evening. Listening to the radio during the drive, he stumbled onto author and radio personality Gene Shepard's story about Flick, which included dialogue of the triple dog dare you incident and freezing his tongue to a metal pole at the peak of winter. Intrigued by just one of the many interesting stories Shepard had written, he was very late picking up the date because he just kept driving around so he could finish out the story. It was during this moment he decided he would do what he had to do to make a movie of this man's work. 12 years later, it all came together. Number 4. Feuding visions. Production of A Christmas Story was said to have been a fun experience by many of the cast and crew, bearing many fond memories. Although the relationship between author Gene Shepard and director Bob Clark was a dicey one, which led to issues during filming. Shepard, being the writer of the book A Christmas Story was based on, and a co-writer of the movie screenplay with Clark and others, was overly protective of his materials, which caused plenty of friction and interruptions. Shepard was said to request dramatic alternate ideas from the actors to fulfill his concept of how scenes should be played out when Clark wasn't looking. The conflict of creative vision caused a feud and eventually would lead to Bob Clark having to bar Shepard from the set. Number 5. Cameos. Shepard, the narrator of the film, also appeared with his wife in the Higbee's department store scene when Ralphie and Randy are there to see Santa Claus.
Ralphie, look over there. See, the line's not so long.
The well-known line from the film,
"The line ends here. It begins there,"
was that of Gene Shepard himself. Bob Clark appears in an iconic scene of the movie after the old man receives his major award and goes street-side to ensure it's in perfect viewing order.
Yeah, that way!
While making his adjustments to the leg lamp's placement, a nearby neighbor who passes by and questions him about it is director Bob Clark, wearing a Miami Dolphins knitted hat. With the movie based in the 1940s, the Miami Dolphins football team didn't officially play until 1966. Number 6. Casting main characters. During casting for the movie, Peter Billingsley, who played Ralphie, auditioned first, nailing the part right out of the gate and making a good impression with Clark. Clark mentioned that he was worried that Billingsley was too obvious for the role, partly because of the success of his previous film credits. It wasn't until after 8,000 other auditions, including Sean Astin of The Goonies and Will Wheaton of Stand By Me, that they made a firm decision to select Billingsley for the role of Ralphie. The old man's role might have been played by actor Jack Nicholson if the cost of his performance wouldn't have been so high. After receiving the screenplay and showing strong interest in appearing in A Christmas Story, his movie resume up to that point pressed him to ask for a steeper price tag than the movie studio wanted to pay. Number 7. A series of short stories. Christmas Story loosely threads short stories that author and radio personality Gene Shepard performed on the radio and published. In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash, and Wanda Hickey's Night of Golden Memories and Other Disasters were fictional spin-offs of Shepard's childhood during the years of the Great Depression while living in Indiana, and were the basis of the screenplay for A Christmas Story.
Christmas Story was a series of short stories in a book, and so The Gun was a short story. The Bumpus Hounds Eating the Turkey was a short story. The Flag on the Pole was a short story.
Wanda Hickey's Night of Golden Memories and Other Disasters contained the short story titled The Grandstand Passion Play of Delbert and the Bumpus Hounds, being the origin of the well-known canine element seen in the movie.
Aha, the Bumpus Hounds. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Number 8. 2 different filming locations. The movie was filmed primarily in 2 different cities. The Parker's house in A Christmas Story was set on Cleveland Street in Indiana, the actual street author Gene Shepard lived on during his childhood. The house is actually located at 3159 West 11th Street in Cleveland, Ohio in real life. Many exterior scenes as well as interior shots from the movie take place here as well as along the street. The Higbee department store building is still standing in downtown Cleveland and now houses the Jack Cleveland Casino as of 2022. The scene where the family goes Christmas tree shopping and the old man strikes up a deal for a Christmas tree was filmed in Toronto, Ontario, as well as many of the interior shots of the house were also filmed in Toronto on a soundstage. One way to tell where it was filmed when watching the movie is when the living room drapes are open, it was filmed at the actual house in Cleveland. When they were closed, it was shot in the studio in Toronto. Number 9. Ralphie's chewing tobacco. For some reason or another, the prop department actually gave daydreaming Ralphie real chewing tobacco during his infamous Black Bart fantasy scene. Where black licorice is most commonly used in movies where actors chew tobacco, if not fond of dipping the real thing, Ralphie initially wasn't given the option.
It turns out they had actually given me long cut chewing tobacco. I think they might have taken the screen direction literally. Definite apologies. Bob was a little upset. I was fine. My mom was like, "What are you doing?"
Not long after shooting the scene, he complained of being extremely dizzy, the room spinning, and sweating profusely from the side effects of nicotine in his system. Once the feeling subsided, some ground-up raisins were used in place of the snuff. Number 10, a missized delivery.
I made your prize, I won!
An error in continuity is clearly seen in an iconic scene from the movie. This is due to a measurement miscalculation by the carpenter who designed the wooden crate that the infamous leg lamp would arrive in. When the major award arrives, it shows this end up on the wide shots, and on the close-up reads, his end up. The production crew had to cut the T-side off in order to fit the box through the doorway. So when you see this end up, it was filmed in a studio in Toronto. When you see his end up, it was filmed inside the house in Cleveland. Number 11, Bully and Toady Swap. The original script of A Christmas Story had written reverse roles for Grover Dill and Scott Farkas. To stay true to the book A Christmas Story was based on, Grover Dill would be the bully and Scott would be his toady. But a rapid change made by film director Bob Clark swapped the roles once he met the actors for the first time. Said to have quickly made the decision, stating, "Okay, you get his lines and he gets yours." Number 12, famous lines of improv. A Christmas Story is chock full of famous movie lines. One of them was not written, but rather ad-libbed. During one of the takes of Ralphie dressed in a pink bunny outfit, His dad blurted out a well-known line from the movie.
He looks like a deranged Easter bunny.
Not at all part of the script, but improvised by the old man himself. Another scene actor Darren McGavin felt more comfortable ad-libbing was the furious furnace scene.
It's a clinker!
Finding it a difficult feat to deliver a swearing spree in its purest form, he decided to incorporate an unfamiliar outburst of babble that fused just the right amount of angry emphasis to sell the scene, also ensuring that his tantrum kept the film's PG rating. Number 13, Flick Pull Prank. Probably one of the most recited and memorable scenes of the movie is Flick taking on the triple dog dare and sticking his tongue on the frozen flagpole. The pole was actually made by set designers and had a small hole in it where Flick would place his tongue to pull off the effect.
This is nuts.
A hose suctioning air inside the flagpole created the illusion of his tongue being frozen to it. As told by cast members as a prank, after filming a take of the scene, Bob Clark quickly called for a lunch break and everyone headed off set. Flick was left behind with his tongue suctioned to the pole, swinging his arms and yelling for them to come back to detach him.
Flailing his arms, just like in the movie, man. He's going, hey guys, come back, come back, come back.
I was out there all by myself, man. There was nobody out there.
Number 14, Strange Kid in Goggles. During the Higbee Santa Claus scene, as Ralphie and Randy stood in line awaiting their turn to tell Santa what they wanted for Christmas, the boy wearing some sort of fighter pilot goggles was never even hired to appear in the movie and was just a local at the department store.
I like Santa. Yeah.
During filming, director Bob Clark noticed him, thought he had the right look for the scene. In later years, revealing that Peter Billingsley had thought the kid was a bit strange, so they used him as he was. After talking the boy's mother into having her son appear in the movie, the awkward interaction scene was added.
I like to listen to God. Yeah.
As a side note, when the boy with goggles finally made it to Santa, his visit was cut short when he immediately screamed while sitting on Santa's lap and was shoved down the slide by an elf. Number 15, Peter Billingsley's resume. Peter Billingsley starred in many TV commercials as a youngster, best known for appearing as Messy Marvin in Hershey's chocolate syrup commercials.
He uses good old-fashioned Hershey syrup in the brand new squeeze bottle without making a mess.
Delicious.
Marvin?
From there, he starred in various motion pictures and made-for-TV movies and shows. A long list of acting credits and awards were earned through the years, and making appearances and earning producer credits in films, including Iron Man, 4 Christmases, and more recently, Spider-Man: Far From Home. A Christmas Story is not the only Christmas classic he's been a part of. He had a small role in another fan favorite, Elf.
Hey, Ming Ming. I'm gonna be a little bit short on today's quota.
Something that went unnoticed by many for years until it was tweeted out to the world. Premiering on HBO on November 17th, 2022, Peter Billingsley returns as Ralphie in another Christmas Story sequel titled A Christmas Story Christmas. Number 16, The Shadow of a Boom Mic. In the classroom scene where the kids are pranking Miss Shields by putting plastic teeth in her mouth, a shadow of a boom mic can be seen in the upper right frame of the shot. A quick mistake that you probably haven't noticed after watching A Christmas Story your entire life. But nonetheless, you might now be on the lookout for it from here on out. Number 17, The Leg Lamp. The iconic leg lamp in A Christmas Story was first brought to life in Gene Shepard's mind when he noticed an illuminated knee-high soda advertisement, first described in his novel and later in a PBS film broadcast in the 70s. The leg lamp from the film was somewhat different than the lamps in earlier portrayals. Designed by production designer Reuben Freed, he drafted a few sketches to pitch to Gene Shepard.
Gene told me that there was a mention of this leg lamp in a 1976 PBS documentary that he'd been involved in. I just did a sketch.
After seeing his creation, Shepard loved it and stated, "Yep, that's it."
And of course they were lying through their teeth. They had no idea what it was, but nor had any of us.
None of the 3 original lamps used during filming survived production, probably due to the family controversy that lingered for years. And The sound of taps can reportedly still be heard to this very day, gently. Number 18, the Red Ryder BB gun. There were 6 official Red Ryder carbine action 200-shot range model air rifles with a compass in the stock and this thing that tells time, custom made by Daisy for the production of A Christmas Story.
Oh, it was beautiful. I could hardly wait to try it out.
No compass and sundial existed in Red Ryder models before this. Author Gene Shepard imagined the rifle coveted by Ralphie in the film and was thought to have confused it initially with another rifle that Daisy manufactured, the Buck Jones rifle, which did have a compass and a sundial.
Oh my God, I shot my eye out.
Number 19, A Christmas Story automobiles. Antique cars appearing in the movie were donated by Cleveland's Antique Automobile Club members.
Some men are Baptists, others Catholics. My father was an Oldsmobile man.
When visiting A Christmas Story museum, on the property is replicas of the old man's 1937 Oldsmobile and the fire truck that rescues Flick from the flagpole.
Holy cow, it's a fire department!
No.
Number 20, Bing Crosby Christmas tunes. On Christmas morning as the Parkers open gifts, several Bing Crosby classic Christmas tunes are heard playing from the radio. With the movie set somewhere around 1940, some of the songs played were released years later. The last tune played as Ralphie comes downstairs dressed in the bunny costume is Bing Crosby's performance of It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas. It wasn't released until October of 1951. Number 21, Surprise at the Chop Suey Palace. After the Bumpus Hounds heisted the Parkers' Christmas Day turkey, to the dread of Ralphie's father, he decided to take the family out to eat a Chinese dinner. During the filming of the Chop Suey Palace scene, the mom was intentionally given the wrong script because Bob Clark didn't want her to know the duck that was to be served would be coming out with its full head still intact, and he wanted to capture her natural surprised reaction to it. Obviously, when the duck's head is abruptly removed, her hilarious reaction to the surprising force was well caught as it happened, with the take being used in the film. Number 22, the meaning of Farkas. School bully Scott Farkas's last name in the film is the Norwegian word for wolf. During his first scene shown in the movie as he appears on the screen, the underscore soundtrack heard is that of Wolf from Sergei Prokofiev's Peter and the Wolf. Number 23, snowball scene and swearing spree. After Ralphie receives a C+ on his Christmas theme and walks home from school very saddened, he is teased and taunted by Scott Farkas, who lobs a line drive snowball right at him. It took multiple attempts for Billingsley to nail the framing of this shot, so he had to endure multiple snowballs to the face. It's reported that one of the snowballs hit him way too hard. The tears Ralphie shed in this scene are real. The cursed words that he used after he blew his fuse and beat up Farkas were, according to Billingsley, all scripted word for word. Number 24, a lesser-known deleted scene. While there were other deleted scenes like a Flash Gordon scene that was axed from the motion picture, in another fantasy daydreaming sequence that was cut, Santa Claus is stuck in a chimney and Ralphie is trying to rescue him from Black Bart and his group of bandits. Ralphie's little brother Randy played one of the outlaw's henchmen, and the costume he wore can be seen at a Christmas Story house and museum in Cleveland. And number 25, Randy lived in the house. An eBay ad led to a man in San Diego purchasing the Christmas Story house for $150,000. After a high-dollar renovation, a Christmas Story house and museum first opened in 2006. During a cast reunion that was held at a Christmas Story house, Ian Petrella, who played Ralphie's little brother Randy in the film, met Brian Jones, the man who purchased the iconic home and turned it into a museum. As time went by, Petrella and Jones stayed in touch, and in 2010, Petrella was looking for a change of pace in his life. He spoke with Jones, and they decided he should temporarily move into the Christmas Story house in Cleveland and give tours as well as do meet and greets with the Christmas Story fans and visitors to the museum. He moved into the home's third floor that is not typically accessible to the general public unless booking a reservation to stay at the house. If you enjoyed this content, be sure to like, share, comment, and consider subscribing to the Quest Capsule channel. And be on the lookout for more interesting top 10 style videos, story vlog documentaries, travel reviews, and other video content we put out for our fellowship of subscribers and viewers out there just like you. We'll see you on the next one.